All praises be to Ahaya, Bahashem Yeshaya, Wadash Warawak. Father, you're worthy to be praised. All praises be to the Most High.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Another Rikar Shiar of the Gathering of Christ Church. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are doing well. Are we in for a blessed Sabbath lesson today? I'm glad you're here. We're up to 1700, so let me just jump right in. Elder Lawyer, are you with me? You with me, young man?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Let me turn you up just a little. All right, we have Elder Lawyer. Split screen, he's in the house. How are you?
Well, sir. Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm blessed by the Almighty. One thing here, 1 second here. Hope everyone is doing well. Shalom, my brothers and my sisters. Let a few more come in, then we'll jump right into it, okay? We'll jump right into it. Okay, Lawyer, how are you doing this morning, young man?
Well, couldn't be any better.
Blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya. That's right, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. I'm excited about the academy tomorrow. I'll be going into dabbling into the 12 Caesars tomorrow. So I'm going to be dabbling into that. But let's go. And it's going to tie right into our lesson today. Let's jump right in. Elder Lawyer, if you can start us off with the Hebrew Credo.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akan.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is Elder Rikar Shaw, the Gathering of Christ Church. The lesson today, Babylon the Great has fallen. And before we do that, let me first show a video from some politicians in the UK speaking on the quote-unquote corona, if they want to call it virus, okay? Now, it seems as if when we bring things forth beforehand to actually warn our people to what's going on, it seems as if there's some people out there who won't believe it unless the politicians tell them it's happening. And that's weird in itself to me. We'll even get pushback from our own people concerning some of the things we bring forth to actually warn them of what's happening in our communities. But they'll follow everything that the politicians are saying.
Well, I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and we're not going to see it again, hopefully, after a period of time. You may have some flare-ups, and I guess, I would expect that. Sometime in the fall, you'll have flare-ups, maybe. Maybe not, but according to what a lot of people say, you probably will. We'll be able to put them out. You may have some flare-ups next year, but eventually it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone. There are some viruses and flus that came and they went for a vaccine. They never found the vaccine and they've disappeared. They've never shown up again. They die too, like everything else.
While our people are actually being destroyed, okay? Push back at us and say we're conspiracy theorists or we should be doing things a certain way or all that, but says nothing when the same politicians who just told you one thing comes back a week later and says the exact opposite.
Today, I want to update you on the next stage of this momentous medical initiative. It's called Operation Warp Speed. That means big and it means fast. A massive scientific, industrial, and logistical endeavor unlike anything our country has seen since the Manhattan Project. Its objective is to finish developing and then to manufacture and distribute a proven coronavirus vaccine as fast as possible. Again, we'd love to see if we could do it prior to the end of the year. We think we're going to have some very good results coming out very quickly. In addition, it will continue accelerating the development of diagnostics and breakthrough therapies. The great national project will bring together the best of American industry and innovation, the full resources of the United States government, and the excellence and precision of the United States military. We have the military totally involved. We're also working very strongly with other countries who are also have some great scientists, doctors, and we're all working very closely together, and they're viewing us as the leader, and we are the relationship with other countries on solving this problem has been incredible. To date, Operation Warp Speed has brought together all of the experts across the federal government from places like the NIH, CDC, FDA, and many other agencies. This historic partnership will now bring together the full resources of the Department of Health and Human Services with the Department of Defense, and we know what that means. That means the full power and strength of the military, and that really talking about the logistics. We get it when we get it. That means the logistics, getting it out so that everybody can take it.
You notice no one says anything about that? let me tell you, Satan's programming is just a masterpiece. It seems as if you highlight something in the midst of their psyop, there's a mechanism, there's this programming that kicks in.
I'd say it's ironic if you take somebody who's doing their best to get the world ready and, putting, in my case, billions of dollars into these tools for infectious diseases and really trying to solve broadly infectious diseases, including those that can cause pandemics. But that, we're in a crazy situation, so there's going to be crazy rumors.
To those who are actually listening to it. And the programming is
across the world. Misinformation about the virus is being shared online, and some of it could be coming from foreign governments or other actors.
A top State Department official told the Washington Post last week that Russia has been creating false personas to spread misinformation on social media. So joining us now is CNET senior producer Dan Patterson.
To the effect of lawyer, it's like
this. So Dan, I'm really happy you're here.
I have to believe everything they're saying.
A warrior against misinformation.
While they're saying
I'm perpetually disappointed in the
and if anyone speaks to the contrary, now the news have always lied to us.
Let us talk about it.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trending irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 But if anyone speaks
The
to
Washington
the
Post,
contrary,
the State Department told the Washington Post that Russia's
automatically
behind
you're deemed
swarms of
a whack
online
job, a
false
cult,
personas personas.
or a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, so as social media has
But
evolved,
you know what I
become
think it is?
ubiquitous.
It's more
These are no
so
longer
people
luxury
would rather
items.
believe the
This has
news
become
and stay in
essential
denial.
communications infrastructure. Unfortunately, that infrastructure has been
It's a
exploited in the past.
cognitive
We saw
dissonance,
this,
which
with
means
political influence operations. Now we are seeing
if
this
what
with
we're
the
saying about
coronavirus,
what's going
and
on
it's
is
incredibly
really,
important that we
you know,
separate
if
out
we
the
say
good information
what's really going
from
on
this
and point out the
disinformation. And
lies,
it's important to call this
it breaks the
disinformation
programming.
because disinformation implies
And some of us would like
intentionality.
this
So
thing to
what
go
we're
on
seeing
forever, so
here,
we'd rather
what
believe the
State
news,
Department is
believe
seeing,
everything will
the
be all
Global
right,
Engagement Center, which is a part
and
of the
attack
State Department,
anyone
has
that'll
no
get in the way
disinformation,
of
coming from
our
the GRU,
cognitive
the IRA, and other
dissonance.
components of the Russian government
Because why?
that interfered, in the
If what we're
2016
saying is
election.
true
I
now,
don't know that I would say swarm because this again
you all
is
actually have to
this
do
fear
something.
that people are feeling. So I don't want to judge how people
Okay?
feel,
If what we're bringing out and pointing out is correct, it leads to some form of action on every individual who's listening. It's called cognitive dissonance. I'd rather believe the lie and attack those who exposes the lies than to hear what's being told to me and do something in the midst of this chaos instead of getting rolled over. Now, so since they didn't want to hear us, Elder Lawyer, real quick, we're going to allow their politicians to tell them what's going on. Right? Let's see. Here's a politician from the UK, a few of them. Check this out, folks.
Hospital death rate and the total death rate. It's worth remembering again that the ONS rate.
Listen clearly.
The hospital death rate and the total death rate. It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who've got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected because many of them haven't been tested. So we just need to understand the difference.
Lawyer, did you hear that?
Sir? Yes, sir, I did.
So he says, hold up, we have to know the difference between those who've actually have COVID or died of COVID, the difference between them and those that have COVID-19 on their death certificate. These people have actually died from something else, but yet COVID-19 was on their death certificate. Listen to this again. Now, someone is secretly recording this with their cell phone.
Hospital death rate and the total death
the
rate.
TV.
It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who've got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected because many of them haven't been tested. So we just need to understand the difference.
It doesn't mean that they were affected. No, someone caught this on their TV. It doesn't mean that they were affected. That's just what was on their death certificate. These bloviated numbers. One more time, because when we said it, we were conspiracy theorists. We don't know we don't know what we were talking about. We're not given the correct information to actually have people warn themselves of what's going on. But maybe they'll hear from the politicians. Again.
Hospital death rate and the total death rate. It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who've got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected because many of them haven't been tested. So we just need to understand the difference. Interesting,
isn't it? Hold up, I think, let me get this guy. Let me get him real quick, the UK guy. Where is he? Let me pull him down so you can all see him here. See him here, right? These were the guys a week before, telling everyone the run for the hills, COVID is killing everybody. The numbers are totally off the charts and we have to now lock everyone in their homes.
The hospital death rate and the total death rate. It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who've got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected because many of them haven't been tested, so we just need to understand the difference.
You just have to understand the difference. Well, why don't you tell us the difference? Because the news reporters and the papers and CNN and all these other guys aren't making a separation between those who have actually died of COVID-19 and those that have died of something else with COVID-19 on their death certificates. Told that it's all the same. This crazy pandemic is going on. But I'm going to give you the true understanding according to the Bible to what's happening here today. Elder Lawyer, real quick, we're going to jump in. Let's get Job. We're going to give you the insight to what's going on today, folks. This is the rise of the 10 horns. Babylon the Great has fallen. Okay? This thing is being controlled from the outside of America right now, all together, right up under your noses. This is an international, folks. This is an international run up to the mark of the beast being led through who? The 10 horns. America has fallen. I hate to shock you like that. It has fallen. But they can't allow people who are bearing arms all throughout the United States to understand exactly what's going on right now. They have to just slowly, incrementally, work on you, your psyche first through what you would call a psyop, and get you conditioned into what? Dying. It's like I would say, and I don't mean to. There's no pun intended in this because I'm going to show you. They've been slowly putting our people down through morphine drips for a long time, and that's what they're doing now. Morphine drips. It's like some type of slow political morphine drip on all of Americans right now, slowly putting you down while telling you everything is okay. I'm just going to make you comfortable. How many times you've heard that about someone they're about to put down? Well, right now he or she is struggling, and what we can do is we can make them comfortable on their way out of this life. Politically, that's what's going on right now. Listen to this. Elder Lawyer, I need you to hear this, and then we're going to jump right in a moment. Elder Lawyer, I'm going to pull that up, but let's read Job 13 first.
The book of Job, chapter 13, verse number 4. But ye are forgers of lies.
Ye are what?
Healthcare workers.
But ye are forgers of lies.
These people are forgers of
Nobody's ever
lies.
seen anything like that, where it's so contagious. You can
It's
be
straight source
feet away and just talking to somebody.
Anytime they can put something on paper,
You can catch it.
it
You know
makes
how
you
long it
believe
can
it's
live on
real life,
surfaces. So
real live
things that
death
nobody even thought
that
of,
none of
the
us are
level of
seeing. Okay. And then right out tell you in your face that, yeah, by the way, your loved one probably died of something else, but the CDC just told us to put down COVID-19 as a reason for death. Don't tell me the love of many has not waxed cold, folks. How can someone just tell you they just killed your family, put them down through a morphine drip with no pushback at all? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Years ago, there was someone in the hospital, and I went in the hospital, and I'm like, and I looked directly at the IV drip, and I asked the nurse, "What do you have in there?" "Oh, it's just some saline, you know, something, his fluids and all that." I'm like, "No." I'm looking, no, that's not saline. That's something else. Get the doctor up in here. They already told the family at this time to call the pastor down to pray in expecting their loved one to be put down like a dog. Okay? The preacher's already in the hospital. The family is already looking to, split whatever the person is about to leave or whatever the case is. And I'm looking at the morphine drip and I'm like, "Excuse me, doctor, what's that?" He says, "Well, that's morphine, to make him comfortable." I'm like, "So why don't you stop that? Why don't you stop the morphine drip?" "Well, we can't do that." Why can't you stop the morphine drip? The morphine drip is slowing down his whole body. His organs and everything is slowing down because of the morphine drip. And you should have seen him look at me as if I didn't know any better. And I told the family, I'm like, "Yo, if y'all don't get him off that morphine drip, he's out of here." This is what the doctor responds with, brothers and sisters. Because they'll make you believe that your family member on a ventilator or your loved one or your friend is in a coma. But what they're not telling you is it's a chemically induced coma. They're not in a coma. They're asleep. They're being put down. And you will sit there and look at them, you hold their hands, "You will be all right. I hope you can hear me." And the whole time you talking to the person thinking they're in a coma, it's the morphine putting them down. The doctor looks at me and say, "Well, if we stop the morphine, he'll pull the trach out of his mouth. He'll pull the trach out." I'm like, "Well, Doc, isn't that a good thing? If he pulled the trach out, that means he's alive." I'd rather see him pull the trach out than what I'm witnessing right now. Talking about he'll pull the trach out. I'm like, that means he's living then, right? Folks, guess what? The trach was pulled out. Eventually, the morphine went down, and the brother was eating and drinking, sitting up in his bed, eating and drinking the next day. After they've already told the family he'll be dead in a few hours. Read that again, other lawyer.
Chapter 13, verse number 4. But ye are forgers of lies.
Forgers of lies. Now, notice it says you're forgers of lies in the book of Job. Speaking of the wicked. They're forging COVID-19 on our families' death certificate. And using those numbers to do what? To announce to the world that black people are the carriers and the major issue when it comes to this disease that need to get dealt with, that needs attention, negative tensions towards. These people need to be tested. These people need to be stopped. They have forged, the Bible says they are forgers of lies. They have forged lies on death certificates. And guess what? No one out there is saying anything. And they are what, Elder Lawyer?
All physicians of no value.
They are what?
Ye are all physicians of no value.
Ye are all physicians of no value. How can you allow a separate entity, doctors, hospitals, to tell you what to put on a death certificate? Through all your years of practice in medicine, doctors are saying, I've never seen a separate entity, a CDC, tell us what we had to put on a death certificate before. They are physicians of no value, folks. They're only doing what they're told right now.
Dr. Fauci is on the leadership council for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In January of 2017, Anthony Fauci told a crowd at Georgetown University that there would be a surprise outbreak during the Trump presidency.
There is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak.
I just want to make a brief comment to get back to the discussion about the health disparities in the African American community, because it really is very important. And the reason I want to bring it up, because I couldn't help sitting there reflecting about sometimes when you're in the middle of a crisis like we are now with the coronavirus, it really does have ultimately shine a very bright light on some of the real weaknesses and foibles in our society. Health disparities have always existed for the African American community. But here again, with the crisis, how it's shining a bright light on how unacceptable that is. Because yet again, when you have a situation like the coronavirus, they are suffering disproportionately. As Dr. Berg said correctly, it's not that they're getting infected more often, it's that when they do get infected, their underlying medical conditions, the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, the asthma, those are the kind of things that wind them up in the ICU and ultimately give them a higher death rate. So when all this is over, and as we've said, it will end, we will get over coronavirus, but there will still be health disparities, which we really do need to address in the African American community. Thanks.
Well said.
Only doing what they're told right now, folks. Because why? If they're not in line with the pharmaceuticals and all that, eventually what happens? Their finances dry up. I heard they getting this ridiculous number, like $13,000 per COVID diagnosis.
If someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death.
Now, I can't imagine if someone comes in with coronavirus, goes to an ICU, and they have an underlying heart condition and they die, they're going to say cause of death, heart attack. I cannot see that happening.
That was from yesterday's White House briefing, and it sparked a nationwide debate over how we count deaths from COVID-19. Do we count someone who tests positive for the virus but died of pneumonia as a COVID death? But what about someone who dies with symptoms of the disease but was actually never tested? It's actually crucial information. COVID death stats inform the models that guide federal and state governments' responses to the crisis. It's really important. Now, Italy, very interesting, has been grappling with this same debate for weeks. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. I'll mention it again. Here's what the Daily Telegraph reported. According to Professor Walter Ricciardi, is the scientific advisor to Italy's Minister of Health, This is what he said. He said, the way in which we code deaths in our country is very generous in the sense that all people who die in hospitals with the coronavirus are deemed to be dying of the coronavirus. On reevaluation by the National Institute of Health, only 12% of death certificates have shown a direct causality from coronavirus, while 88% of patients who have died have at least one premorbidity. Many had 2 or 3.
What do you say to those folks who are making the claim without really any evidence that these deaths are being padded, that the number of COVID-19 deaths are being padded?
You will always have conspiracy theories when you have very challenging public health crises. They are nothing but distractions.
Conspiracy theories, doctor? So you're engaging in conspiracy theories. What do you say to Dr. Fauci tonight?
Well, I would remind him that anytime healthcare intersects with dollars, it gets awkward. Right now, Medicare has determined that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you'll get paid $13,000. If that COVID-19 patient goes on a ventilator, you get $39,000, 3 times as much. Nobody can tell me after 35 years in the world of medicine that sometimes those kinds of things impact on what we do. Some physicians really have a bent towards public health, and they will put down influenza or whatever because that's their preference. I try to stay very specific, very precise. If I know I've got pneumonia, that's what's going on, the death certificate. I'm not going to add stuff just because it's convenient. I think that it's not a conspiracy theory at all.
Yeah. So you reject what he said?
Absolutely.
Even if there's no test, if they put it on the paper, $13,000, just to say that someone has COVID-19. Now imagine in the hood, our people running into the hospitals and all that, what's going on there? Being labeled COVID-19, and then the news going to take that information and begin to say, listen, there's something we have to do. This disease is just tearing the black community apart.
Population is 14%.
We need to do something.
But the number of African Americans
with these bloviated numbers.
Virus is 40%.
Where are your pastors?
We should hire 3 or 4 colored ministers, preferably with social service backgrounds and with engaging personalities. The most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is a man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
And they are physicians of no value. You think Christ would just sit back and not point out the wickedness and shine a light? You think Christ would, if Christ was here right now, you think he would sit back and without shining a light on the wickedness and the darkness that is destroying the children of Israel? These pastors sitting there. I heard there's a pastor somewhere. I was on the phone the other day. I'm trying to reach out to a brother, trying to call and get to this guy. He's sick with something. And I'm trying to get with another brother and say, man, you better get him on the phone with me because, hey, if he has faith in this system, they're going to put him down. You have pastors who believe this stuff, who have more faith in what the news people, the talking heads are saying through a teleprompter than the words of God, than the words of the Most High. Elder Lawyer. Read that for me once more.
Job chapter 13, verse number 4. But ye are forgers of lies.
Ye are what?
But ye are forgers of lies.
Ye are forgers of lies, forging false documents. Read.
Ye are all physicians of no value.
And they are all physicians of no value. What they can't tell the elderly right now, folks, is that there's really no more retirement money. There's no more Social Security money. All that money has been dried up and taken by the banks through the last bailout. They used all the retirement money during the 2008 crash, during the bailout, folks. And what they can't tell the elderly is that there's no money to sustain them. So what are they doing? They're putting the elderly down. Elder Lawyer, I'd like to play something real quick if you don't mind, and then we'll jump right in.
Absolutely.
This is the brother from the UK. I need you all to check this out.
Friends and family, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, people of the world. I know we are living in a pandemic time. I know it's crazy out here, and I'm not one in the social media and doing videos or whatever, but I'm not sure if we are fully aware of what's going on. And I just want to bring something to a light. I live in Florida. I'm a British citizen. I live here with my wife and my children.
He's in Florida.
Excuse me. On Monday, April the 13th, Bank Holiday Monday in the UK, Easter Monday as we call it, I was called by my sister in the UK in London, saying that she got a call from one of the carers who looks after our dad. Our dad is 93 years old. He resides in northwest London, NW10 to be in fact. We have 2 living carers that live with him that maintain his health and so forth, look after him, do all what needs to be done 24 hours a day. Fantastic. We got a call that Dad is not seeming to be well. We were told that he had his porridge in the morning and everything was fine, got up, had his shower, went and had his porridge, had his breakfast, went down to the living room, had his lunch. In the afternoon, he was feeling a bit queasy and went and lied down. But they noticed he kept on feeling worse, looking worse. So they called my sister, who fortunately is a registered nurse, who manages her own business, her own home care business. She rushed down there, had on the mask and everything, saw what was going on. Looks like Dad was struggling to breathe. So she did what she could, got him comfortable, sat him up, patted his back, got air into his lungs, and basically called the ambulance 999 and then called me on FaceTime so that I can speak with my dad, informing me what's going on. So I started to speak with my dad. I could see that he wasn't 100% as he normally is. And I'm saying, Dad, it's me, it's your son. I called my name. Can you hear me? He said, yes. Do you know who it is? He said, yes. I said, it's me, and I called my name, and he looked up at me and he smiled. And then thereafter, the ambulance came, the doorbell rang, and the ambulance men came in, the first responders, and they said, they just want to know, is anybody in the house COVID-19? My sister said, as far as we're aware, no one is. However, my dad seems to have respiratory issues. He's not breathing correctly as he normally does. Okay, so
notice they asked, is anyone in your home, does anyone in your home has COVID-19? Notice that. Automatically, they're looking for other people to put under this label.
Well, let's check him. Let's check his temperature. So they checked his temperature. I'm still on FaceTime. I'm viewing everything. They checked his temperature. His temperature came in at 36.6 Celsius. Now, for anybody in the US, you know, we don't work on a metric system, so we don't use Celsius, we use Fahrenheit. And I couldn't remember what the Celsius temperature was at 36.6. So I quickly Googled it whilst on FaceTime. That's 98 Fahrenheit. So he didn't have a temperature, long and short of it. So they said, well, look, let's check his oxygen levels, and his oxygen levels was at 84%. They said, well, it appears that, you know, he needs oxygen and it should be at least 95. So he needs oxygen. My sister asked, do you have an oxygen tank in the ambulance? They said, we do, and we could administer it to him. However, we still want to know what's the underlying issue. So we think it's better that we take him into hospital and evaluate the situation. I said, okay. please though, don't take him to Norfolk Park, because I've been hearing stories about Norfolk Park, which is in North London. Harrow, whoever may know where it is, that whoever goes in ain't coming out.
Listen, folks.
They said it's not up to them. They'll make it. It's not their decision. However, they sat outside the house for a little while. I believe inside my dad was receiving oxygen. That I don't know. What I do know is they came back out and said, look, he's going to go to Royal Free. Whoever knows where Royal Free is, we know that's in Hampstead. That's in North London. So off he went to Royal Free Hospital. Within an hour, they said, we'll contact you when we get in and we know what ward he's in. Within an hour of them getting to the hospital and my dad being checked in, they've called my sister and they've told my sister, this is where your dad is and you better come and say goodbye. What do you mean? Well, you know, we don't think he's going to make it throughout the day.
They told him.
Now, I find that really, really weird.
There's a little echo in his room, but what he said was, a little after his father was in the hospital, the doctor called and told his daughter to come say goodbye to her father.
Well, you know, we don't think he's going to make it throughout the day.
We don't think he's going to make it throughout the day.
Now, I find that really, really weird. And so my sister said, look, I'm going to call him back and I'm going to try and get through and see what's going on. Called and she couldn't get through. One of the times she was on hold for about 55 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever the case may be, but she couldn't get through. So we decided that what we're going to do, we're going to call back in the middle of the night. And my sister, being a ward sister, worked in those hospitals, know what it's like. She said maybe they're doing handover, because I'm getting anxious. She said, but maybe they're doing a handover, changing the nurse station, so they're so busy they can't answer the calls. And they're under pressure, and we understand that. And, you know, compliments to all our first responders. Anyway, she called me about midnight, my time, which is 5 a.m. her time, and said, look, I fell asleep, but let's call them now. And I said, look, I'm in the bathroom and getting ready to go to bed, but let me come out the bathroom, let me get myself together, and I'll call you back in a few minutes. Got in the bed, called her on speakerphones, sitting up next to my wife, called her. I then called Royal Free Hospital, put in the extension code, and got through to the ward where my dad is on the 12th floor in Royal Free. We asked the nurse, how is Dad? And she wanted to verify who we were. We had to go through all the confirmations that we are next of kin. We do have a right for his information to be shared with us. I'm the son, and this is my sister, who is his daughter. So we were told that let her get the vital signs, let her get his charts and check him out. She checked him out. She said, look, I can tell you 100% Dad is in 100% good care, and he is doing fantastic. She said, I am not the ward sister in charge normally here, but I am tonight. I'm doing a bank shift, so I'm taking care of this ward tonight.
So someone came in, folks, who is not usually on the shift. After they've already told the family to come in preparation of their father dying, someone actually comes in between who normally is not on that shift and tell them, your father's fine. His vitals, everything is good. He's in good care. Listen to this.
Your dad, Clifford, is my patient, and I literally just saw him not too long ago, and all of his vitals seems to be okay. So my sister, being a nurse, said, well, can you read off the charts and run through everything with me?
Good.
She said, what do you want to know? Well, does he have a temperature? No, he doesn't. Okay, what about his vitals? Well, his blood pressure is 128/80. Now, bearing in mind, he's 93 years old. My sister said, wow, that's excellent. What about his oxygen level? His oxygen level is 97%. My sister said, wow, it was 84 when he was admitted. She said, yeah, I'm telling you, all of his vitals are good. So my sister said, well, does that mean he'll be able to come home today? She says, well, I don't see why not. Everything seems to be fine. The only thing is, he seemed a bit dozy. And I kept on saying, Clifford, Clifford, and he'd open up his eyes and look at me, and then he'd close back his eyes. My sister and I, we had concluded that, well, maybe he's tired because of the ambulance, the traveling and all of this. But because of all of his vitals are good, as far as we're concerned, we're fine. And we couldn't comprehend why the doctor had called the evening before saying, come and say goodbye. And only one of you can come. Anyway, that was 12:35 a.m. Eastern, 5:35 a.m. GMT, London time. By 9:30 a.m. Eastern, I think that's about 2:30 p.m. GMT, UK time, my sister called again and said, you're not going to believe this. I just got another call from the doctor who called the day before, and he was saying, you need to come down to the office and say goodbye to Dad. Now, bear in mind, we've just spoken to the nurse and they're saying all of his vitals are good, everything's fine. We're discussing about him being discharged. So my sister says, hold the line, because you need to tell this to my brother. I need to get my brother on the line. So she's called me, she's put the nurse on hold, called me, and before she's merged the call, she's told me what they've said. So she's connected the call, and I said, can you explain to me what's going on? And she says, yeah, we're telling your sister that she needs to come down and, say goodbye, because Dad, we don't think he's going to make it through today. Well, why is that? Well, we believe he's on his way out. Well, why is that? She said, because it is. It's so. We don't think he'll make it through today. So I said, well, I think that's really strange, because I phoned there a few hours ago. His blood pressure was 128/80. He has no temperature. All his oxygen level is 97%. All of his vitals are good. So why are you saying he's not going to make it? She goes, you called here? I said, yeah. She says, can I transfer you to the consultant? Who's that? That's the doctor in charge. Please go ahead and do so. So she placed us on hold, transferred us, and the doctor came on and said, who am I speaking to? How can I help you? And I said, look, I think you know how you can help me. We don't need to go through this rigmarole. What's going on with my dad? He says, well, we've made a phone call and we've asked your sister to come down. And my sister said, why is that? And the doctor said, well, we think he's in his last days. We think today he's not going to pass throughout today, and we're giving him care to make him comfortable. And she said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, we've been administering morphine as of yesterday. My sister screamed out. And I've never heard my sister scream like this before. At the highest pitch you can think of, screaming, you're killing him! You're killing him! You're killing him!
Now check this out though. She's a nurse. She started screaming when it was her father, you're killing him. You're killing him. When she realized that there was a morphine drip in her father's arm. That tells us that the nurses know when they administer that morphine that it puts people down. It's a slow kill. How does she immediately know that? But we go to hospitals all the time and see that morphine drip on our people, and the nurses be behind the counter like everything is fine, folks. How did she know that morphine was killing them? She worked in hospitals before. She know what morphine does. And that's what they do. They'll have our family on morphine and call them down and have us look at them in that deadly, dilapidated state. And the optics play tricks on our mind and make us believe that they came into the hospital and are unconscious. Without us knowing, they're unconscious due to the sedation, the morphine.
Call, and we've asked your sister to come down. And my sister said, why is that? And the doctor said, well, we think he's in his last days. We think today he's not going to pass throughout today, and we're giving him care to make him comfortable. And she said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, we've been administering morphine as of yesterday. My sister screamed out. And I've never heard my sister scream like this before. At the highest pitch you can think of, screaming, you're killing him! You're killing him! You're killing him! I touched the screen. I saw the two red symbols. I pressed end on her number. I cut her out the call because I wanted to hear what the doctor had to say. And I said, "You're giving him morphine?" "Yes, we are. Wasn't you aware of that?" "No, none of us was aware of that. Nobody knew. And as far as we were concerned, that is fine." He says, "Well," I said, "Hold the line. Before you say anything else, my sister has dropped off. In reality, I cut her off." I said, "Let me add her back." I dialed her back. I said, "Sis, you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm sorry for that outburst, but they're killing him, my brother. They're killing him. I know what they're doing." So I added her to the call. I said, "So doctor, tell me something. Why are you administering morphine to him?" He says, "Well, he is 93. I said, "Not being funny. His mother lived to 103. And I'm not saying that he was going to live to 103, but I know he was not going to die." He says, "Well, you know, we have run some tests on him and we can see that his kidneys is not 100%. His kidneys is not..." And my sister said, "Yeah, we know. His kidneys has been at about 70% since 2016. We know this. Furthermore, if you're giving him morphine, there's no way his kidneys is going to be able to receive that and filter it. No way. When you know his kidneys is not running at 100%. He said, and we did notice that he has a heart pacer. Yeah, he's had that heart pacer since 2016. But that's still not a reason for why you're giving him morphine." The doctor said, "Well, his respiratory level has dropped." My sister then rebutted that and said, "Well, look, his respiratory has dropped because you've given him morphine. What morphine has done has slowed down everything. The heartbeat will be beating slower. His respiratory will be slower." I said, "No." I said, hold on a minute, sis. I said, "Excuse me, sir. You still haven't justified why you're giving him morphine, because this morning, his report, his vitals was 128/80. That's his blood pressure.Is temperature, he had no temperature. His oxygen level was at 97%. All of his vital signs were good. So why was you administering morphine?" And they mentioned another, but I can't remember. It begins with M, but they mentioned another product they were giving him. But we were told he was only getting saline. And the head nurse was saying he's fine. So the doctor said, "Well, when did you call?" I said, "We called this morning." "Oh, okay, well, obviously there's been a breakdown in the communication, but we think your sister needs to come in because Dad's on his last days. We don't think he'll make it throughout today." I said, "Doctor, you still haven't justified to me why you're giving Dad morphine. Why are you giving him morphine? Morphine is heroin. Why are you pumping him with this stuff?" He said to me, "Well, research has said," and I said, "Hold on a minute. I don't want to hear about what research has said. What I want to know is, why are you giving my dad morphine when all of his vital signs are good? The only thing you've given him so far that we was aware of was saline." I said, "What do you have to say for that?" He says, "Well, the only thing I can say is I'm really sorry and your sister should come down now." So my question is, does these doctors have a 007 license? 2 hours later, my dad was dead. 2 hours later, they killed him. So they're 007. They believe he was 93. As soon as he was admitted, they saw, well, he has an issue. I even asked the doctor, "Does he have COVID-19? The doctor says, "Well, we've run the tests and we're waiting for the results to come back." I said, "But there's no implication that he has. He doesn't even have a temperature. So why are you pumping him with morphine?" He says, "Well, I wouldn't use the word pump." My sister said, "How much morphine has he received?" He says, he's received 3 doses at 3.75 milligrams in total. My sister said, "Floyd, they're killing him. They're putting him to sleep. All of his systems is going to shut down." Now, bear in mind, a few hours ago, I had just spoken to him. Bear in mind, it's not even 24 hours. After that call, 2 hours later, my dad was dead. So my thing is now, please guys, if you can avoid the hospitals, because I see what they're doing. I witnessed it firsthand. Remember, he had no issues, no underlying ailment. And soon as he went in, an hour later, they tell him, my sister, come and say goodbye. They started from then. And it made sense. And I said it to the doctor. Now I know why. The nurse had turned around and said, all of these vital signs are good, but she can't understand why he was dozy like that. It's because he was under the influence of morphine. Now, that made me think, was the morphine on his charts? Because she read from his charts and she said he should go home, but she wants the doctor, after he's done his rounds in the morning, to evaluate Mr. Clifford because she doesn't understand why he has been dozy. Okay, now we know why. My friends, my brothers, my sisters, kings, queens, people all over the world, be careful. Because I don't know what the plan is, but obviously there is a plan.
There is a plan. They're executing the plan. And the plan, brothers and sisters, is Jacob's trouble. The rise of Edom and the 10 horns, while they are simultaneously imploding Babylon, putting Babylon to sleep. See? And they don't care what color you are, okay, right now. Everyone in Babylon, according to the elite powers who created this place out of 3 separate horns of the 10 horns, let me tell you, they're going to see everyone here as what? Or throughout the earth, as casualties of war. And that leads us into the lesson, Elder Lawyer. And may the Most High bless his father's soul. And you know what? And I pray that the Most High receive that brother into habitations and be resurrected through the resurrection and see immortality. And I pray that the Most High allow this man to see a judgment on those who felt the need, folks, to play God and take a life. This is systematic murder, folks. And the Bible tells us that our people, Israel, we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We have to take ownership of our temples and protect our families, folks. We're well past the time to trust others to let us know, to give us the information or the intel on what's good for us. Because what's good for us, according to them, is death and destruction. Our parents have always cared for us from infants when we were not able to care for ourselves, but watch our every little action, our every little move to make sure we were comfortable when we couldn't take care of ourselves. And this is what's owed to the elderly, our parents, when they can no longer fully operate at their optimum capacity. We're supposed to take care of them as they go back, morph back into a child state. And that's why it tells us in Deuteronomy 28 that curse it when we come in and curse it when we go out, as a curse on Israel. When we come in, we have to protect our children from the time she leaves the birth canal, or he leaves, or he comes through the birth canal, from the hospitals looking to shoot them up with all types of diseases and all that. And then we have to worry about our parents going out on a morphine drip. Curse it when you come in and curse it when you go out. Are we not the children of Israel, destroyed for a lack of knowledge? And they're provoking and pushing our people on purpose. Because they want a reaction, folks. They want a provocation. That's what they're looking for. And even the elders, the 24 elders before the throne, is asking the Most High, how long? How long before you will avenge the blood of the innocent? How long, Lord? And the Most High is saying, well, hold up. The sin hasn't come into its fullness yet. But no one will get away. No one will get away. But folks, it so happens that we were born in this time and have to understand what's really going on to protect our family. Knowing is half the battle. At least we can protect those we know. Until the physical engagement and eventual engagement that will need a spiritual intervention. And guess what, folks? If we're on the right side of this and do what's right by the Most High and keep his commandments, we will experience that intervention. Elder Lloyd, you have anything to say real quick?
Sure. Outside of, as you stated before we got into those videos, the fact that we were not only stating some of these things for years about what takes place when you go into the hospitals, but even more so during this time, especially when it comes to the elderly and those who cannot necessarily fend for themselves under the, some would say care, I would say under the restraint of these hospitals. So it's just a reminder that we definitely have to be careful and mindful of what's going on with our family members, especially the elderly who are checked into the hospitals during this time period. Because the brother said, and he stated that there's a plan, and he don't quite know what the plan is, but praise the Most High that those of us who can see, we know what the plan is. So we should be 2 times diligent in these types of situations.
Exactly.
Well, this song is going out and reaching out to all of my brothers and sisters right across the world, you know? Hebrew Israelites, especially my brothers and sisters in Libya where I suffer, but nobody now said nothing about it. But we have to talk, you know, fight against injustice. Whoa, 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 yeah. Yeah. Goes like this. We've had a lot of heartaches and pains. We've been through the struggles, the stress and strain. Still not give up. We are stand up and fight till Yeshua comes. For all the fallen soldiers, rest in peace on the other side. Cause one day in the other life, we will meet again. Them kill you off and believe them win, but them not know the fight just begin. Cause I see all of your suffering, and that's why he caused me to sing. He said, oh, hold on, Hebrew soldiers, yeah. Me know the battle kinda tough, but you bound to win. So never give up, no, cause you fighting victory. Though them are off and up off, them don't lose already. So hold on, yeah, Hebrew soldiers, hold on. Yeshua said, no darker road than that which each ride. He will never leave you lonely, so no need to be sad. Though them persecute you falsely, rejoice and be glad, cause great is your reward in heaven. So, no matter worry about the laugh and the giggling. Press the one to mark because the price is everlasting. You might be wondering now when the struggles are going to end, the tunnel might have dark, but there's a light at the end. Press. Hold on, Hebrew soldiers. Oh yeah, me know the battle kinda tough, but you're bound to win. So never give up. Never give up, cause you're fighting victory. Oh yeah, I mean say hold on, oh Hebrew soldier. Persecution a go come, but Israel we have to stay strong, and let us preach righteousness in Babylon kingdom. For too long, our people have been spellbound by doctrines of devils and pagan religions. Wake up, ye sons of Jacob. I gave us laws, now it's time to keep them. It's time to turn away from the ways of the heathen. done. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 10. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So hold on, you've got to hold on, Hebrew soldiers. Me know the battle kinda tough, but you're bound to win. So never give up, 'cause you're fighting victory. Do them a huff and a puff, them don't lose already. So hold on, Hebrew soldiers. Hold on, oh shit. Hold on, Hebrew soldier. I know the battle kinda tough, but you want to win. So never give up. Don't you fighting victory? Yeshaya already win the victory. Yeah, yeah.